Good day everyone. Welcome to Mathematics for Quarter 3, week number 4. So we are now in Quarter 3, week number 4 of our most essential learning. Our learning competency for this day. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to relate triangle to quadrilateral, relate one quadrilateral to another quadrilateral. For example, you're going to relate square to rhombus. So before that, let's have some review. We're going to identify each of the following. So you have 10 seconds to answer. This would be the first question. Triangle with one obtuse angle. Triangle with one obtuse angle. You have 10 seconds. Your timer starts now. You may type in your answer. Okay, time's up. The correct answer for this one is an obtuse triangle. Question number 2. A triangle with all sides congruent. You have 10 seconds. Your timer starts now. Time's up. The correct answer for this one is an equilateral triangle because all sides are congruent. Next is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. You have 10 seconds. Your timer starts now. You may type in your answer. Time's up. The correct answer for this one is a rectangle or square because a rectangle is a parallelogram and also a square, and they have 4 right angles. Next is a quadrilateral that is both a rectangle and also a rhombus. A quadrilateral that is both a rectangle and also a rhombus. You have 10 seconds. Your timer starts now. You may type in your answer. Time's up. The correct answer for this one is square. Very good, grade 4 pupils. So, let's proceed to our lesson for today. The topic is relating a triangles to a quadrilateral. So a quadrilateral can be formed using 2 triangles. So let's have a rectangle. A rectangle can be formed by 2 congruent right triangles. So this would be a right triangle and another right triangle. So a right triangle measures a 90-degree angles or right angles. So this one is a right triangle and right triangle, and combine it together to form a rectangle. Next, another quadrilateral is a square. We can form a square by combining 2 congruent isosceles right triangle. So this would be an isosceles right triangle because this side is congruent to this side. An isosceles triangle has 2 congruent sides. And then, so this would be an isosceles right triangle and also a right triangle. So combine it together to form a square. Take note, the broken line is the diagonal of the quadrilateral. And then another quadrilateral is a rhombus. A rhombus can be formed by combining 2 congruent isosceles triangle. Combining 2 isosceles triangle, this would be isosceles triangle because the measure of this side is equal to this side and this side. So all sides are congruent, so this would be a equilateral triangle. So combining two equilateral triangle to form a rhombus, that would be the shape. And then the broken line again is the diagonal of the quadrilateral. And the trapezoid, to form a trapezoid, you need two scalene triangles with a pair of congruent sides and a pair of congruent angle. So this would be a scalene triangle. The scalene triangle is no sides are congruent. So this side is different to this side, is this different to this side. But take note, to form a trapezoid, you need two scalene triangle with pair of congruent side. This should be congruent to another sides of the triangle to form a trapezoid. So this one is congruent to this one. And a parallelogram, to form a parallelogram using two triangles, you need two congruent triangles. So this would be congruent triangles. So this would be using two scalene triangle with congruent sides, pair of congruent sides. Either you're going to use a right triangle, isosceles right triangle, or equilateral triangle to form a parallelogram. So this would be the diagonal of the quadrilateral. And a trapezium. So to form a trapezium, you need to combine two triangles with one pair of congruent side. So this would be another first triangle and another triangle with a pair of congruent sides, so to form a trapezium. So that's all. So let's have some activity to further analyze that topic. So you have 1 minute to answer all questions. Start. So the direction is you're going to write T if the statement is correct and F if not. So you have 1 minute. Your timer starts now. So for number 1, you're going to write T and F. T if the statement is correct and F if not. A quadrilateral can be divided into two triangles by its diagonal. Number 2, rhombus can be divided to form two right triangle. And number 3, square can be divided into two equilateral triangles. And for number 4, rectangle can be divided into two isosceles triangle. And for number 5, trapezoid can be divided into two acute triangle. You have 10 seconds left to type in your answer. Okay, 5 seconds left. Time's up. Let's reveal the answer. For number 1 is true because a quadrilateral can be divided into two triangles by its diagonal. For number 2, a rhombus can be divided into to form two right triangle. Is it true or false? The answer is false. We cannot divide a rhombus to form a two right triangle. And then for number 3, a square can be divided into two equilateral triangle. No, it is a false. And for number 4, rectangle can be divided into two isosceles triangle. False also. We can divide a rectangle into two right triangle. And then for number 5, trapezoid can be divided into two acute triangle. No, so this would be a false. So this would be the correct answer. So I hope you already know how to uh, uh, distinguish or to form a quadrilaterals by using a triangles. Now let's proceed to lesson number 7, relating quadrilaterals to another quadrilaterals. So let's define first again a quadrilateral. It's a polygon with 4 sides and 4 angles. It is classified as a square, rhombus, rectangle, parallelogram, or trapezoid, or trapezium, and kite. So let's define a square. Square is a quadrilateral with 4 equal sides and 4 right angle. So this would be equal to this side, this side, this side, this side. So all sides are equal and it forms 4 right angle. 4 right angle. This would be right angle. Then a rectangle. A rectangle is a quadrilateral also with 4 right angle. And its opposite sides are equal and parallel. So this side is equal to this side, and another one is this side is equal to this side, and it can be formed 4 right angle, first, second, third, and fourth right angle. And a rhombus is a quadrilateral that has 4 equal sides. Its opposite sides are parallel. So this one is parallel to this one, and this one is equal to parallel to this one, and this one is equal to this one, this one is equal to this one. So all sides are equal. So yan, parallel to this one, and this one is parallel to this one, and all sides are equal. So this would be the question. Let's relate the quadrilateral to another quadrilateral. A square is a rectangle. So remember, a rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 right angle and its opposite sides are equal and parallel. And a square is a quadrilateral also with 4 equal sides and 4 right angle. So by the definition, we can say that a square is a rectangle because it satisfies 4 right angles and its opposite sides are parallel. So the opposite sides of the square is a parallel, and the opposite sides of the other side of the square is parallel. So we can say that the square is a rectangle. So yes. And then for this one, a rectangle is a square. So remember again, by the definition, a rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 right angle and opposite sides are equal and parallel. And square is a quadrilateral with 4 equal sides and 4 right angle. So let's analyze the definition. So a rectangle is a square. A rectangle can be a square. So by the definition of the square, 4 equal sides. So 4 equal sides. So this one is equal to this one, but this one is different to this one. So we cannot say that the rectangle is a square. So it's a no. Next, another question. Is a rhombus is a square? Let's see. A rhombus is a quadrilateral that has 4 equal sides. Its opposite sides are parallel. This would be a rhombus. So we cannot say, we can say that a square is a rhombus because the quadrilateral with 4 equal sides, by the definition, it's 4 equal sides and the opposite sides are parallel. So the opposite sides of the square is parallel. And for the next one is a rhombus is a square. So try to imagine this would be a rhombus. So rhombus is a square. It's a quadrilateral that has 4 equal sides and opposite sides are parallel, and square is a quadrilateral with 4 equal sides and right angle. So let's see the definition of the rhombus. The rhombus is 4 equal sides, and its opposite sides are parallel. But take note, the square is formed for right angle. Is it formed by 4 right angle, the rhombus? No. So it's a no. So by the conclusion, we can say that a square can be also called as a rectangle because it has 4 right angle and its opposite sides are equal and parallel. And a rectangle is not a square because it does not have equal sides. And for the rhombus, a square can be also called a rhombus because it has 4 equal sides and its opposite sides are parallel. But a rhombus is not a square because it does not have 4 right angles. So that would be the conclusion. And let's proceed to trapezoid. Trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has exactly one pair of parallel sides. Take note that parallel lines are lines that will never touch. They are equal distance apart at all points. This would be the parallel lines and one pair of parallel lines. So this would be a trapezoid. So is this a trapezoid? Yes, it has set of parallel side. So this would be the parallel side and this would be the parallel side. So one pair of parallel side. So we can say this figure is a trapezoid. And now let's proceed to trapezium. When we say trapezium, a trapezium is a quadrilateral without a parallel side. So as you can see, the sides of the trapezium is no parallel side because this one is not parallel to this one, as this one is not parallel to this one. So we can say this one is a trapezium. And a kite. A kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pair of congruent adjacent side. So this would be adjacent side. So this one is a pair of adjacent side and this one is a pair of adjacent side. So that would be a kite. So now let's proceed to parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral that has opposite sides that are equal and parallel. So which among the quadrilateral we have seen are parallel? So let's see. So it is a parallelogram. So this would be a square. So take note, a parallelogram is quadrilateral. Its opposite sides are equal and parallel. So opposite sides equal and parallel. So this would be a parallelogram. Next, this would be a rectangle. Equal and parallel. Opposite sides equal and parallel. So this would be a parallelogram. Next, this would be a trapezoid. So the opposite sides are equal and parallel. So the trapezoid, the opposite sides, this would be equal to this one. No. So this would be not a parallelogram because this the other side is also not equal to this one. They are equal but they are not parallel. And the next one is a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram. Let's see. See, the opposite sides are equal. Yes. Yes, and they also parallel. So this would be a parallelogram. Next, this would be a trapezium. Trapezium. Let's see the opposite sides. They are equal. No. And they are not parallel. So this would be not parallelogram. Next is a kite. A kite. Let's see the opposite sides. The opposite side of this one is this one. Are they equal? No. And no. So, and they also not parallel. So this would be not parallelogram. So I hope you already know how to relate another quadrilateral to another quadrilateral. So let's have some diagram to further analyze how to relate another quadrilateral to another quadrilateral. So let's start with the quadrilateral. The quadrilateral has 4 sides and angles. Under the quadrilateral, we have parallelogram, trapezoid, trapezium, and kite. So under a parallelogram, we have a rectangle and rhombus and also a square. But under a rectangle, we have a square and a rhombus. Under a rectangle, we have a square, and under a rhombus, we have square. So let's have analyze this one. What conclusion we can get from the graphic organizer or this diagram? We can say that a square can be a rectangle and can be parallelogram and can be a quadrilateral, and also square can be a rhombus, and we can say a rectangle can be a parallelogram and quadrilateral, and we can say also that a rhombus can be a parallelogram and quadrilateral, and trapezoid can be a quadrilateral, trapezium can be a quadrilateral, and kite can be a quadrilateral. So also this diagram, we can see that a rectangle, square, and a rhombus are inside the circle for a parallelogram. So a parallelogram, under the parallelogram we have a rectangle, square, and a rhombus, and under a rectangle we have a square, and under the rhombus we have a square. So we can say a square, it can be a rectangle, rhombus, and a parallelogram. And we can say that a rectangle can be a parallelogram and can be a quadrilateral because this would be the bigger part, and a rhombus can be a parallelogram and can be a quadrilateral, and a parallelogram can be a quadrilateral, and kite can be a quadrilateral, trapezium quadrilateral, and trapezoid is a quadrilateral. So we can see that the intersection of the circle for the rectangle and the rhombus, it shows that the characteristic of the rectangle and the rhombus are in square. So what conclusion we can draw from the graphic? We can say that square can also be called as a rhombus, rectangle, parallelogram, and quadrilateral. Rectangle can also called as a parallelogram and quadrilateral. Rhombus can also be called as a parallelogram and quadrilateral. And parallelogram can be also called as a quadrilateral. Trapezoid is a quadrilateral. Trapezium is a quadrilateral. And kite is a quadrilateral. So that's all. So I hope you already know how to relate some quadrilaterals to another quadrilaterals. So it's your turn. You have to answer this one. You have 1 minute. We have 4 questions. You have 1 minute. Your timer starts now. For number 1, parallelogram with 4 congruent sides, either A, B, C, D. Number 2, parallelogram with 4 right angle and 2 pair of congruent sides. So A, B, C, D. And for number 3, trapezoid, a rhombus. And for number 4, this would be number 4. Number 4, a rhombus is a parallelogram. Is it a true or false? Okay, you have 17 seconds. 10. Time's up. Let's reveal the answer. Number 1, we have a letter C. For number 2, we have letter A. For number 3, we have letter B. And for number 4, we have A. So that's all for today. So this would be your home learning task. So you're going to answer assessment in your self-learning module. Write true if the statement is correct, otherwise false. So this would be 1 to 10. That's all for today. Thank you and God bless.